Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Digitally Uploaded podcast. I'm Matt Sainsbury, Editor-in-Chief of DigitallyDownloaded.net, and with me this week, we've got a whole bunch of people. I'm not going to intro any of them. We're just going to get on with the podcast. No, of course I'm going to intro everybody. Since Trent said wow, hello, Trent.
Hello.
We also have Matt from New Zealand, Kiwi Matt. Hello, Kiwi Matt.
Hello. Don't call me Kiwi, it's a slur.
Okay. Person of New Zealand origin. We also have another person of New Zealand origin, Ginny.
Yay.
Hello, Ginny.
Hi.
And we have Harvard. Hello, Harvard.
Wow. Hello. I thought we'd just go for wow today.
Yeah, we're doing a lot of wowing. So we got a pretty packed and interesting podcast ahead of us. We're going to jump straight into it. We're going to go to some Hatsune Miku music. Then we're going to come back and talk about the games of April, which is very early, I know, but we have reasons which I will describe right after this music piece. Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Okay, so as I mentioned, we're going to talk about the games of April for reasons. I'm actually off to Japan next week, so we're not going to be recording podcasts. Don't worry, we've got plenty planned, but we do need to talk about the games of April nice and early this month. So, to run through them, first up on April 9, we have Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Trilogy coming to Switch, which is pretty good, I think, for people who haven't played Phoenix Wright before, which is not many, but there you go. Also on April 9, we've got Zenki Zero Last Beginning coming out, which is a Spike Chunsoft dungeon crawler, which looks really good, actually, really interesting. I'm sure lots of people are looking forward to that one. On April 11, we have Earth Defense Force Iron Rain, which is going to be amazing because if you played the last Earth Defense Force, which was Earth Defense Force 5, you'd realize that that series has really hit its stride and it's a lot of fun. Definitely worth looking forward to that one. On April 16, we've got Anno 1800 coming out for people who like their city builders and simulations. We also have Final Fantasy X2 HD Remaster, which is coming out for the 17th time now. It's coming out on Xbox One and Nintendo Switch, finally. And then also World War Z is coming out on April 16, which actually, for some reason, I'm looking forward to. I don't know why. I like the movie, I think. I quite like the movie. So the game, which is coming very much later on, seems to be interesting. On April 23, we have Dragon Dogma Dark Arisen coming on the Switch, which is good for people who like that game. Not me, but other people. Mortal Kombat 11 also comes out on that day, so that's going to be good. I know Matt hates Mortal Kombat, but people who have taste in fighting games like Mortal Kombat. What else have we got? We got Box Boy and Box Girl coming out on April 26, that was a 3DS downloadable only puzzle game set, and now it's coming out on Switch, which is really good. April 26 also brings us Days Gone. April 30.
It's moving on from that one.
Yeah, Days Gone. It's fun if you like watching blowtorch torture scenes. April 30, we have Final Fantasy 12 coming out on Switch and Xbox as well, and that's my favorite Final Fantasy, so yay. All right, so Ginny, what are you looking forward to in April? You've obviously got a whole bunch of games coming out in March, and you'll probably be having to pick up on the backlog then, but April still seems like an interesting month.
Sorry, randomly, I can hear myself. Someone's not got something fully plugged in, or
no, I don't think anybody. That's just you.
That was weird because I was hearing it. Now it's fine, but anyway, it's all right. Would I have to leave the podcast if I said Days Gone?
Yeah.
Oh,
yes, you would.
Ginny.
100%.
Okay.
No, you're allowed to like bad games.
I am allowed. That's nice. Thanks for allowing me to stay here.
So why are you looking forward to Days Gone, Ginny? Tell us.
I'm not actually.
Oh, okay.
Maybe she likes the torture scenes.
Don't worry.
Yeah,
you missed this one out, but Warhammer Chaos Bane is coming out.
Oh, I did too. That looks good.
Isometric hack and slash Warhammer. So that would be fun for me to play. I love Warhammer, as you guys probably know from the Warhammer games I've reviewed for digitally downloaded. So, and also Imperator Rome comes out in April as well.
Oh, it does too.
It does too. So love me some 4X games. So I'm going to love Imperator Rome, and also I studied I guess the history of Rome when I was at college, and so it's always been like one of my favorite time periods. So focusing definitively on Imperator Rome and just seeing footage that I saw last year at FDX Con about how good it looks, I'm super pumped for it. So those are the ones I think that I'm the most excited for. Yeah.
Cool. Trent, tell us, what are you going to be playing from April?
Well, I could always play March games in April. That sounds like a great thing to do, get into that backlog, which I probably will, but not a March game, but last week's game, this new Civilization expansion pack which came out, that looks pretty good. It's getting great reviews, so maybe I'll pick that up with all the fun, disasters and more environmental theme, and yeah, it sounds cool, but it was like a last week game, not an April game. So, but outside of that, the actual releases, Phoenix Wright looks good. I'll probably pick that up, even though I played all the originals again. It's always good to have something on a more modern console if you are interested in replaying it. And outside of that, I'll probably keep the month quiet because I got a few big events in April. My friends are getting married, so don't really want to touch any games or anything in April. But yeah, I'll probably just play stuff in my backlog.
but Trent, you could buy Box Boy and Box Girl and have something to play at the wedding.
Yeah.
On the Switch. I'm the best man. I can't be sitting there playing the Switch.
That's the perfect opportunity to be playing the Switch. You're standing up there at the altar.
If you're the best man, you have a duty to play the best console.
That is true. But I'll be also wasted. That's the whole point of a wedding. So, you got to balance this out. How am I supposed to play Box Boy and Box Girl with a Switch while overly intoxicated at my best friend's wedding? It's just...
Actually, that's a point. I mean,
Yeah.
Box Boy and Box Girl is a little bit, puzzly for when you're wasted. You could get Mortal Kombat, and that'd be perfect for the wedding. Perfect in theme.
I don't think it's on the Switch, though.
It is.
It is.
It is? Wow.
That's
It is.
so weird.
Yeah.
Is it actually reviewing good or sounds good on the Switch? Or is there any footage so far of it on the Switch?
No, not yet. But I mean, it should be fine. Mortal Kombat's never been the kind of game that really pushes hardware because it's 2D fighter as opposed to 3D, and it doesn't have the kind of boob physics that Dead or Alive does and stuff like that. So there's no reason that it can't go into the Switch. Unlike Dead or Alive 6, which I would love on the Switch, but unfortunately maybe a little bit, Marie Rose is a little bit beyond the Switch's power. Matt, what about you? Are you looking forward to, let me guess, I'm going to guess, you're looking forward to Zenki Zero, right?
I was looking forward to Zenki Zero.
Oh, then you found out it got censored.
And then I found out it got butchered, completely and utterly butchered to be made unplayable because they decided to remove a panty shot from the opening cutscene. And without that, there's just no point playing the game anymore.
I mean, those things are always good fun. I love watching those controversies pop up because they're just hilarious. It's like, get over yourselves, just play the bloody game. Shut up.
But on a more serious note, I am very much looking forward to that. It looks very interesting. It's like basically a dungeon crawler in a similar vein as all those other ones that have been coming out recently, like Mary Skelter and Etrian Odyssey, but without the drawing component. But this one is set in like a sort of kind of post-apocalypse type thing, but a very bright and colorful version but all of humanity is wiped out except for these 8 people who are embodiments of the 7 deadly sins, and then an 8th person who is original sin. And so I think it's...
I actually didn't know that. They're actually based on the 7 deadly sins.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So I think it's going to be an interesting concept that'll take the story in interesting places.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Spike Chunsoft is a particularly reliable developer, except for those bloody Jumpstar fighting games. How they managed to screw those up, I'll never understand. But otherwise, they're a good developer, and the JRPG stuff especially is obviously their strength. So yeah, that's definitely an interesting one. What about you, Harvard? Coming to you last. Which games are you looking forward to the most in April?
I don't know if we'll get it, but this looks interesting. P-Cube is publishing another visual novel called Our World is Ended or something like that.
Yes.
It gives me a bit of like a Steins Gate vibe because it's like about 8 guys who are making a I think it's like an AR or VR reality game or something like that, and they get a vision into the future, and it's got all like this time travel sci-fi kind of aspect to it. Looks like it'll be pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. That wasn't on my list, so yeah, thanks for bringing that up. That does look like a good one. I like the visual style of it, and I like the way PQ localizes games too. They're a pretty good localization outfit for sure. And then I just wanted to mention one that nobody else mentioned, but I'm personally looking forward to it. I don't care if you guys aren't, but I am. Earth Defense Force. I love Earth Defense Force. I'm really looking forward to Iron Rain. I actually played it a little bit. I played a demo of it at TGS last year, and it is a cut above Earth Defense Force 5, which I absolutely loved as well. Definitely looking forward to that game. And if you haven't played an EDF game before, you kind of owe it to yourself to play one. I mean, I'm not going to try and force you to play one, but you should. Because they're great. They're fun. They're shooters, but they're also B-grade trashy shooters, which are just hilarious. Deliberately B-grade trashy shooters, and they have a very Ed Wood sci-fi kind of vibe to the way they do the sci-fi, and yeah, it's great. I don't know. Have any of you actually played one?
Nope.
I really want
to.
I've played a little bit that one time when I was at your house, Matt.
Oh yes, that's right. Yes,
that's.
Yes.
I enjoyed that. I really liked the look of them. One thing that it had me slightly concerned about Iron Rain, and it's probably not accurate, but I read something about saying that it was trying to be a more serious take on a franchise that is deliberately very not serious, and I wasn't sure how that would work out.
Well, if that happens, then I don't think there'll be a score low enough I can give the game, because the whole point of these games is to be stupid and hilarious. I mean, you want them to play fairly well, and they do. They don't play as tightly as a Call of Duty or whatever, but they play well enough for what they're trying to do. But you want the silly themes, and you want the nonsense monsters and all that kind of stuff. I really hope that they don't try and make it dude bro serious, because if they do, that's it for the series as far as I'm concerned.
What if it's dude bro serious, but it was like piss taking dude bro serious?
Oh, that's fine, and that's what Earth Defense
Force does
too. Yeah, it absolutely takes the piss out of those kind of dude bro serious games. So yeah, I don't know. You've got me concerned now, Matt. Thanks a lot.
I'll try find the source of what I heard that claim that might be completely baseless. Hopefully it's baseless.
Okay, and on that note, we're going to go to some music, I think. What are we going to play? Let's go. I'm going to point at the screen. Harvard, pick a song.
What?
Yep.
Is there any good Defense music? Defense Force music?
No.
No? What do you mean no?
I mean, it's like the rest of the game. It's kind of deliberately bad. Actually, that's a perfect thing to play. Okay, just because that way Alan has to listen to it when he's editing it. So yeah, we're going to play some Earth Defense Force music, and we're going to come back and talk about Caligula Effect.
From any alien attack, from vicious giant insects who have once again come back. We'll unleash all our forces, we won't cut them any slack. The EDF deploys. Our soldiers are prepared for any alien threats. The Navy launches ships, the Air Force sends their jets, and nothing can withstand our fixed bayonets. The EDF deploys. Our forces have now dwindled and we pull back to regroup. The enemy has multiplied and formed a massive group. We better beat these bugs before we're all turned to soup. The EDF deploys to take down giant insects who came from outer space. We now head underground, for their path we must retrace, and find their giant nest and crush the Queen's carapace. The EDF deploys.
And welcome back, everybody. Okay, so we're going to talk about Caligula Effect, and I know long-time listeners of the podcast, we've actually talked about this game a couple of times, but Overdose has just come out, or is coming out, actually. Embargo lifted on it, so we've been able to review it as critics. I believe the game itself is out about the time that you'll be listening to this. But yeah, we talked about Caligula Effect a few times, but I wanted to talk about it again because it's that good, and I think that it's probably one of the most unknown great JRPGs out there, and a lot of people don't know about it, haven't played it, but they should. So, Matt, you haven't played it before. This is your first time playing it for Overdose on the Switch. And I read your review, obviously, and you loved it.
I did. It's a very good game.
What was it? I mean, at what point did you realize that you loved the game? I guess. Like, was it immediately, or did it grow on you?
I pretty much loved it right from the start. I think when in that opening moment where it's sort of the main character doesn't really have much of a kind of background and backstory until things start to get revealed right towards the end of the game. But so initially, you set that up basically by the Mew, the AI character who is a virtual idol and basically a god of this fictional world that she created to give people endless happiness. Starts asking you a few questions about like what it is in the real world that you're trying to escape from, and that basically set it up as being as that I knew that this is going to be an interesting game that goes to some very interesting places. So yeah, basically right from the start. And then I got into the first battle and played through like the tutorial for the battle combat system, and that was just blew my mind away by how interesting it is.
Yeah, it really is an amazing combat system. We've never seen. There is nothing like it. It's one of those genuinely innovative and original combat systems, and yeah, it's that was, I guess, the moment for me when I realized, back when I played it for the first time on the Vita, actually, I was pretty much hooked straight away as well. But for me, I guess it was because the character of Mew is quite obviously Hatsune Miku, so, that was always going to sell it to me. And yeah, I just find it really interesting the way that it is such an interesting look, I guess. The overall game is such an interesting look about virtual idols and that kind of the increasing ability that people have to remove themselves from the world, to indulge in these kind of fantasy constructions and in the digital space. And that's certainly something that you can kind of see in the real world as well. And people are removing themselves from the real world to live in those kinds of the spaces of their own creation. So yeah, I found it a very interesting examination of real world issues as such. And yeah, when I got to speak to the director, I realized how brilliant he is. And he's so young too. I think he's younger than I am. I think he was still in his 20s when he came up with the Caligula Effect. So he's got a long career ahead of him. And hopefully he doesn't decide to try and go mainstream. One of the things I love about Caligula Effect is it's quite happy to be a niche game and doesn't try to be all things to all people, and is quite happy that some people won't enjoy it.
Didn't he?
So yeah,
he say that in his interview with you, like just quite outright. He said that.
Yeah, he did. He absolutely said, because he was really fortunate that Furyu, I can never pronounce that company's name, but because they're a small publisher, they didn't pressure him, or there was no pressure to kind of create something that was a mainstream hit, so they could kind of explore their own ideas and take risks, because the usual thing, the more mainstream you try and be, the less risks you can take. So yeah, it was a good interview. I really enjoyed that interview. It really stuck in my mind. He's going to be the next Yoko Taro, I believe. Not that Yoko Taro is on his way out by any means, but yeah, he's kind of the next generation of that kind of creator, video gamers are to kind of person. So yeah, Ginny, you haven't played Caligula Effect. What can we do to convince you to play this game?
I am actually pretty convinced already.
Okay.
Cool. It doesn't take much to convince me. So yeah, like honestly, if the concept sounds interesting, and I love like a really good dystopia / artificial world. So just the concept alone would have grabbed me already. So, and also I feel like if it's a game that a lot of people, that I suppose the mainstream public opinion is split on, then I tend to gravitate towards wanting to try that more. So yeah. Oh yeah, I'm convinced.
You also get, I mean, the other neat thing, and I forgot to mention it, you actually, one of the things I really love about the game is the way it keeps making you question whether you're doing the right thing at all. Because as the heroes, you're actually working to destroy this kind of world. Because if the way the narrative works, if these people are aware of the world that they've been drawn into and they want out, the characters that you're playing as, and if they get out, the strong implication is that the world itself will be destroyed. So everybody else, who many of which are quite happy in the space that they are, would lose that. And yeah, it raises interesting questions about whether your actions are actually the right actions to be taking because of the people that you would be affecting. Whether your selfish goals as such are worth putting everybody else through what they'd have to go through if they lost their escape. But what about you, Trent? Now that the Caligula Effect is actually on a platform
Switch.
that you play, yeah, Switch, are you going to give it a go?
Yeah, it sounds really interesting. Every time you talk about it, I'm like, yes, I'll play it, sort of thing. Like you've talked about it so much, I'm sort of beaten down about the game. I'm like, yes, it's on my list. I'll pick it up.
Yeah, that's it. That's my goal in life, is to force people to play this game. It's like Nier, the original Nier, not Automata, because everybody ended up playing Automata anyway. But
Even me.
Yeah, even you. But I feel this obligation to force people to try and play this game because everybody missed the original Nier despite being a brilliant game. And I think this one's kind of in that same vein. Although this time, at least they've released it on new platforms, because one of the problems nobody can play Nier is because it's only on the PlayStation 3.
Can I give a word of advice? I could be wrong on this. You guys fill me in, but I tried playing Caligula Effect on Vita, and I stopped after about like 2 hours because the game has this, I don't know what to call it. It's like a sphere grid almost, like Final Fantasy X, but like there's all the characters that exist.
I know what you're talking about.
You can go and fulfill their dream, and I am like pathologically drawn to completing these tasks when they give them to me, and I spent like so much time on it. But you don't have to do it. It's like you don't need to do that, any of that. You should just go follow the main story instead.
Yeah, to be honest, I never really bothered too much with that social
I got so
network
distracted.
thing.
Oh my goodness!
Because there's over 500 characters on that grid. So you can interact with over 580 or something, I think. So if you were to actually spend time to get to know every single one of those characters and do all of their little side quests and stuff, you would be spending an awful lot of time playing the game. That being said, some of those little stories that you come across are actually quite interesting. So yeah, it's worth playing a couple, but I don't think anybody, including the people who made the game, actually expect somebody to play all 500 of the stories.
I'm not a very good video game player. When I see side quests, I'm like, I'm going to do that first.
Yeah.
You must hate Assassin's Creed, Harvard.
I've never tried, but I feel like you would hate
it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm kind of the same as you, Harvard, but I found them reasonably easy to ignore, except for when I wanted to do them in this game. And I think also probably one of the benefits of it is a lot of them are basically gated off until quite late in the game.
But they don't tell you that. Like they say that this person wants to talk to this person, but you don't know the other person is gated off forever, so you just go around looking for them. Sorry, I've been playing this game wrong.
That is true, yeah.
But everything I've heard about it is good. It's just like my experience of it so far has been, I don't understand the combat. I don't understand the sphere grid. I don't know what I'm doing.
Well, I think that's kind of the point, is one of the reasons that the game is certainly not, it has no mainstream potential, I guess, is because it does have those kind of irritations with the gameplay stuff. And it doesn't have some of the frame rate issues that the Vita version did, so it dealt with that. But it does have other issues with the gameplay and those kinds of things, which make it more a game for people who are willing to sit through that to experience the story and stuff. So it's not as highly as refined as, say, a Sony open world game. It's not Days Gone, but that's a good thing. I can talk about Days Gone now. Yeah. The embargo on the preview lifted, so I can really go heavy now. It's
any publicity is good publicity, I guess, when it comes to Days Gone.
Matt, I read your preview and you sounded so excited about it.
Yeah, you're so positive.
It was basically like, this is the best game ever.
Yeah.
I was actually very, very professional, mature with that preview.
And here's the companion podcast where I completely destroyed that illusion.
I acknowledge that it's a game that a lot of people will like. I acknowledge that, I did the right thing, and then I just laid in with some of my own opinions towards the end of the preview. They shouldn't have torture scenes. I don't like that. All right, we're going to music. One of the other great things about the Caligula Effect is its music. It has an amazing soundtrack, an absolutely amazing soundtrack. And we're going to play one of the songs from it. It's the song from the first dungeon. I can't even remember the name of the song, but it is my favorite piece of game music ever. So we're going to play that. We're going to come back and we're going to talk about the PlayStation Vita. Rest in peace.
Alan, you should just put on a song from Days Gone.
Welcome back, everybody. So for the final section of the podcast this week, we're going to talk about something that is very sad. Very, very sad indeed. The PlayStation Vita has been formally put to rest. Sony is not making any more consoles. If you haven't got one yet, you should have one because it has some great games on it, but you better buy it quick because it's going to get very expensive very soon amongst collectors and stuff. We wanted to talk about the PlayStation Vita this week because obviously it didn't sell particularly well. Everybody knows that story, but it was perhaps the most underrated console, I think, that's been released in certainly recent times, since the Dreamcast perhaps. It has an amazing catalogue of games, and we'll just talk about some of our favourites from that console. So, Ginny, you have a PlayStation Vita, right?
I had a PlayStation Vita.
You had?
It passed on me last year.
Oh no, that's sad.
I know. I'm pretty sure I talked about it on the podcast as well. We all had like a moment of silence for my PlayStation Vita.
Yeah, I remember that.
Did you bury it?
That wouldn't be very environmentally friendly. But yeah, I definitely.
Okay, well, from your time with the, what were some of the highlights, I guess, of your time with the Vita? Were there any games that kind of really stood out?
Gravity Rush was one of them.
Yes. Yep.
Persona 4 Golden obviously was another one of them. Conception.
Oh no!
Oh, I love that game. That is a great game. That
was actually great. I even played Conception 2. Don't ask me why.
You played both? Oh, why?
The sequel, you know.
You should never apologize for liking Conception, Ginny. It's a great game.
And let me actually, obviously the Persona rhythm games were amazing when they were on the Vita. I don't know, it's hard to think about them now, but I just really, really enjoyed my time with the Vita. Like, it wasn't even that I feel like the Vita is a better portable console than the Switch. Like, I fully admit that I am a Switch convert and I don't think the Vita is a better portable console than the Switch. But I think that the games that I loved back in the day on the Vita could only have come out on the Vita. Do you know what I mean? Like, there was just no other ecosystem for you to access the games like that. And like the original Monster Hunter games, for example, like there was just no other real vehicle to access them that way. The original God Eater games and stuff like that, Super Robot Wars even. Like, so it's just, I think the Vita, I remember the Vita as a very unique ecosystem whereby a lot of indie games, a lot of Japanese games that are maybe now part of mainstream franchises because of how the world has become, I don't know, more open or more globalized or whatever. Back in the day, the only way to play games like Conception was on the Vita. So I credit the Vita as a platform that gave a lot of games the chance to flourish and introduced me to a lot of my favorite genres. Yeah.
I think also we should credit the Vita for really helping the explosion of visual novels in the West as well. Without the number of visual novels that ended up on that console and then localization, companies picking them up for that console as well, I don't think we would have seen the same popularity of visual novels. I don't think the explosion of them that are on PC now would have necessarily happened because the Vita was kind of the console that proved there was a market for that stuff in the West. And I love my visual novels, and I certainly played a lot of them on the Vita. Danganronpa was the one.
Yeah, that's true.
I think got me really into visual novels as a genre. Danganronpa really got me into them. But what about you, Matt? You still have a Vita? You still play it, right?
I still have a Vita. I still play it. I've been playing it a lot recently because it's basically the only way these days to play Final Fantasy VIII in its original form.
I get that.
Yes, it's true. It's so true. It's sad, but true.
It's on Steam as well, but apparently the Steam version has issues. I've bought it on Steam, but I haven't played it. Apparently it's based off the original PC version, which wasn't great to begin with, and had like a lot of. They basically, because of the whole issue of, we finished the game, so we deleted everything. When they were then making the original PC port, they basically had to reverse engineer the whole game.
Yes, so the only version of Final Fantasy VIII that Square Enix does still have is that PC version, which is not very good at all. So yeah, the original console data is all gone, which is very sad.
But
it's really terrifying because it means that Square Enix is probably at some point going to remake Final Fantasy. Just don't want that.
No.
I mean, looking at what they're doing, Final Fantasy VII is just brutal.
It's
cruel.
I've been playing it a lot recently, and it's better than I remember it from when it first came out, and I liked it a lot when it first came out. And I think it has aged surprisingly well, even compared to like Final Fantasy VII, which if you play the original PlayStation version these days, the age of it really shows.
Yeah, see, I was never a fan of Final Fantasy VII that much. I know that's blasphemy to say, but Final Fantasy VII for me was an ugly mess of a game, really. Even back when it was new and exciting. Whereas Final Fantasy VIII was better made, just in general, and it was more interesting. It was more original. I found the characters to be better. Yes, even Squall, I liked him, believe it or not. I like Squall. Yes, I'm admitting it on the podcast right here in front of our millions of listeners, because we of course have millions of listeners. I like Squall. But yeah, Final Fantasy VIII is a great game, and you're right. PlayStation Vita is pretty much the only way to play it, unless you go and get yourself one of those PlayStation TV units and play it on the home TV. You can do that as well. Trent, you never had a Vita, did you?
No, I got a Vita.
Oh, you got a Vita, did you?
I did get a Vita. I did play it. I had the one of the original models, not the refurbished, more plasticky, ugly one. And yeah,
the OLED screen. OLED screen.
Yeah, I had one of them. So I guess I started with Persona 4 on it. So that was my introduction to the Persona series, and I absolutely loved it. And yeah, as you said earlier, Danganronpa introduced you to visual novels. At least made it you love it, and I guess I loved Danganronpa when I played it on the Vita, so that got me introduced into Danganronpa. I had PlayStation Plus at various stages, so I had some really weird games which just came out on the PlayStation Plus system at the time, which was really, really good that they did it back then. But it's a shame they don't do it as much now, is when, all the weird indie games were on PlayStation Plus. Like, you go and add it and then be like, oh, this is like the PS4, I have like this Super Monkey Zoo game or whatever it is. And that's Super Exploding Zoo, that's what it is. And it's like the best game ever. And they just don't do that anymore on PlayStation Plus. Like, it's disappointing. But yeah, basically my whole Vita experience was visual novels, which were only on Vita, and weird PlayStation Plus stuff.
And JRPGs, of course, right, Trent?
Oh,
you probably didn't play so many of them.
Probably not. You really put him in a corner there, man.
I mean, Caligula Effect is an obvious one. It got its start on Vita, and I love that one. Another one that I know Matt and I both agree is absolutely amazing, and we wish that Sony would stop making Days Gone so it could make more of these, is Orishika. Orishika is an absolutely amazing JRPG, which Sony published on the Vita. Last time Sony was really creative. Really? Actually, that's a pretty harsh thing to say, but
but is it
I'm
wrong?
running with it.
Is
it wrong? It's not really. Orishika was an amazing JRPG. If you do have a Vita still and haven't played it, I definitely recommend you go and grab that one, because you will remember it. That is for sure. What about you? Oh, sorry, Matt. Go.
I was going to say Orishika it's basically like a living ukiyo-e painting.
Yep.
And with a story that kind of captures that same style of storytelling, I guess, and that same sense of fantasy that those paintings conveyed, and a very interesting generational system where all your characters, because of like a curse in their bloodline, they live for about 2 years, and they just age very rapidly, so they live a full human life in the span of about 2 years, and then so a big part of the game is passing on their abilities and traits and things to offspring to keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a bit like Conception, Ginny.
Yes, I
In that
agree.
you create generations of kids and stuff,
Yeah.
and then send them
It's
off into the slaughter mines.
It's a
Yes.
game. It's a game about.
Let's
It's a game
lose.
about family and legacy. Okay, very
Yeah.
important messages to pass on to other people.
Yeah, it is less. Orishika is less lewd than Conception, but Conception wasn't so bad, really.
It wasn't so
Really
bad.
wasn't.
It's not as lewd as people think it is. Like, there's not a lot of explicit lewdness. It's just like it's. I was just gonna say, like, I realized I was gonna say, oh, it's not that lewd. It's just a lot of misogyny. I realized how bad that sounded. But I mean, like, it's kind of like the way that people feel about Darling in the Franxx. It's like there's a core conceit there which treats women a certain way, but if you can ignore that core conceit long enough to enjoy the mechanics, then it's actually pretty good.
Yeah, I just love how in Conception the whole breeding system works because
It's so oddball.
They like touch fingers or something, and then all of a sudden
it's
kids appear.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Avatar, but like more intense. Like they just somehow like they osmosize into each other. Look, who knows? Okay, let me just tell you, there was no scientist working on that game. They didn't have any expert advice. They were like, "Excuse me, sir, how does children work?" No one asked anybody that when it came to Conception. They were like, "Okay."
The scientists to get to that point, they just really didn't care about.
They just looked around the studio. They were like, "Who knows how babies work?" And people were like, "Nope." No one was listening. All their headphones in, and the guy was like, "Sweet, this idea that I made up is gonna work fine."
This is not the Conception I remembered. Like, I was excited for the game. I didn't play it, but like, it sounds like I knew only the basic mechanics of the game and didn't really, this is just like blowing my mind that Conception was this horrible, dark, secret game which no one played.
Oh, I mean, I played it publicly often. Like, it was not a secret, Trent. Okay.
Aren't they actually bringing that one? They're doing a new one, aren't they? Aren't they doing a remake?
I feel like I heard something about that, and you know what? I'm gonna be sucking in for a third time. I play Conception 2, mothers. Okay, I'm gonna do it again. Don't worry about this.
I should clarify, the reason why I always get so angry is because I wasted my entire life finishing the whole Conception 2. So.
Oh yeah, Conception
I can
Plus
never get that time back ever again.
Conception Plus has been announced to the PS4. Everyone, I hope you're ready.
Yeah, there we go. HD Conception. Brilliant.
Yeah, my wallet is ready.
Okay. And we're pretty much out of time for the podcast this week.
Oh, can I
but we're going to
give the Vita thing?
I was just about to give you a lovely segue there, Harvard.
Oh, sorry.
You ruined it. I was just going to say we'll wrap things up with a bit of music from Conception, but just before that, Harvard, just to finish off, tell us your kind of pick of the Vita. Give us your impressions or what you love most about the console.
So I like it because it was that era that Sony like Japan Studio was given just free reign to make whatever they wanted. So there's really cool games like Ginny mentioned, Gravity Rush and Freedom Wars, and a lot of other studios were making cool stuff as well that were like new Japanese IPs. Whereas the Western games are just, how can we get our existing IP down into a less powerful thing? So if you ignore like the Killzone and the Resistance and you go for like the stuff that you've never seen or heard before, you get a really good experience. But what I really wanted to shout out is that you have the whole back catalog of like a lot of PS1 games as well. And there's some really good games you can't get anywhere else just on that Vita store. And
yeah, absolutely. I mean,
like Matt, but Ridge Racer Type 4 is like the best racing game, like a very stylish racing game from the PS1 era that everyone should go play.
Yeah, absolutely. And like Matt mentioned, also Final Fantasy VIII, and there's a couple of hundred, I think, PlayStation games on there that you can play, fully compatible on the Vita. So a beast of a console. Sad that it's gone, but I guess we'll go play our Switch now. All right, we're going to some music from Conception to finish things off, and we'll see you all next week. Thanks very much for listening in.